that.
Yep.
Well, good. I'll just start off with good morning, everyone. And this is the Bylaws Committee meeting for the Southern Regional Cooperative Soil Survey Conference in 2022 virtually. Here today with Dr. Chris Bry and myself as co-chairs, and also present is Dara Park, who is a host from Clemson University. A couple of things that last year or last time at the conference in 2020, we made some updates to reflect some changes in the Soil and Plant Science Division with NRCS and updating the some terminology in the bylaws. Let me share a couple of things.
While Edgar is sharing the screen, I just want to introduce myself, Chris Bry. I'm at the University of Arkansas, co-chair here with the Bylaws Committee with Edgar. For those of you that are seasoned veterans using Zoom, you're probably aware of some of the different attributes at the bottom of the screen. You might have to mouse over it to have it pop back up. If you've got a question, write it in the chat. We've got such a small participant group. You could probably just wait for a time and then speak up, unmute yourself. But either way, raise your hand if you want as an option to kind of be called on. You can sort of readjust the size of your screen from the top part of your window there, but just chime in with the chat. We'll keep an eye on that, or just unmute yourself and we'll let you have the floor there. So we'll turn it back to Edgar to go through some of his suggested changes to the bylaws.
Chris, just to check, what screen are you seeing? What are you seeing on your screen?
I see a Word version.
Okay.
Bylaws. Yeah.
Very good. And so what I'll do is kind of we'll use that as our working copy of the bylaws. Again, last time we made some changes. We added to be consistent with the national bylaws, not changing a lot of text in the first part of it, other than adding section numbers as we go through. So sections 1, 2, and 3 are Articles 1 and Article 2 remains the same. Article 3 remains the same. Article 4, it gives responsibilities of the conference officers, basically the chair and co-chair responsibilities. That remains the same, other than adding section numbers. The meeting, nothing changed there. Location of meeting. Table 1 is the area where we have the biggest amount of change in this for this time around. I guess it's important to keep that table of hosts so that we know that rotation. So that rotation is fully on there and goes through all the states involved. The chair and vice chair alternates between NRCS state soil scientist and the experiment station. That's really just a matter of who may have some responsibilities or not. But both of those people are the chairs, or co-chairs for that meeting. The steering committee, another person that's on the steering committee is the Central States National Tech, or the National Tech Service Centers, and these are in for the central region of NRCS and the eastern region of NRCS, and from those tech centers. And that's that's in Fort Worth and then in Greenville, North Carolina. So Kamara, in this case, Kamara and Richard Reed were both on the steering committee, but one would need to be on there. The other obviously can, as far as the host, if they be a part of the steering committee also. The Spsd Liaison there's always been a liaison designated by the Soil and Plant Science Division Director for NRCS. That would be Dave Limbo. Traditionally, that has been somebody out of the National Soil Survey Center or out of the leadership. What they have done here recently is ask a regional director to be that person. So so that's where that is at. And I'll show some maps here in a minute showing how that may affect how we want to do this structure. The steering, the next columns in red are proposed changes, and what I'm proposing is that we delete those 3 columns. Those columns were needed more in the past because we had 5 MO regions in the past for soil survey, and now we have 2 regional directors, one of them being with as the liaison. So I really don't think we need that rotation anymore because we have fewer people. And I think that will, I think we can make this simpler. And then the committee chairs, we can go back down into the text and find those. I'm going to switch over to PowerPoint and kind of show where those, why we need that change. Okay, so again, a lot of updates in 2020, mainly due to terminology and names of people and positions. Table 1, which we looked at, why needed, we had some changes to regions and their responsibilities. In the past, we had 5 what we called MO regions at the time to regions now. And the SPSD has assigned one of the 2 regional directors as a liaison anyway. So again, those are those changes. And really, these are the 2 maps that we're looking at. If you look at the one on the right, that's the National Cooperative Soil Survey regions. The green area is the southern region. In the past, we would have some states in the Northeast that would be part of that. If you just So we would have more, I guess, of the NRCS regions involved in the past. Now we don't. We just have basically the two and parts of others, but the soil survey regions and the cooperative soil survey regions are similar. The one part of that and I guess that southeast region does go into Kentucky some. That's basically the Luss area there. So we obviously want to make sure that we're covering any issues that we want that Kentucky needs. But with as few as regional directors that we have now, just to have areas that is more reasonable for them. I know that Luis Hernandez, who's in the Northeast, has been part of 3 steering committees. He's in the Northeast part of the country. And so he's got the Northeast region, the North Central region as that, and part of the South region. So that's pushing it a lot to have being part of a steering committee on 3 regions. Not that that can't happen, but it's just, you know, for responsibilities, you know, he's going to have 2 regions, to be involved with 2 regions anyway every other 2 years. So just to give everybody a fair shot at being with, I guess, to carry their load. So, Joe, glad to see you this morning, bright and early.
Hey, good morning, Edgar.
So with that, I'm going to go ahead and go through this next slide, and then we'll go back and talk a little bit about it. And with you, Joe, here being, we can discuss this a little bit more and see what your thoughts are. So the 2 committees that are chaired from the NRCS standpoint, from the standards committee and the taxonomy committee, what we propose is that this should be in red as a deleted part, but the NRCS co-chair is comprised of a SPSD regional director or their representative on a rotating basis. I hate to put that in a chart again, because I think we're at a point now that we're not going to change as much with our regions, but when we only have basically 2 there, then obviously there might be some that are a really good chair with taxonomy that we might want to keep for a while, but that would be at the discretion of the regional directors. So, good morning, Roy.
Good morning.
So, Roy, this will be good because you've got a lot of history with the region also. Last year, or last time, we went through a lot of updates because of some terminology and then some I guess how the SPSD has evolved over time. And since that time, regions have evolved a little bit more. And we had a table in our bylaws that kind of designated some responsibilities from steering committees to taxonomy chair to standards chair. At our last conference, we split the taxonomy standards committee to 2 separate committees. And so when trying to work this table, it kind of became really confusing. And with the regions changing a bit since the last meeting, what we would like to propose is to delete those three from the in red from the bylaws, because that has been evolving over the last couple the last years, and that's hard to keep track of. The liaison from Spsd is going to be appointed by the director of Spsd, and what Limbo has been doing here lately has been looking at a regional director as liaison. Is that correct?
Correct.
Is that right, Roy? I didn't catch it.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so that's going to be, the regional director is going to be a liaison. So I don't know if we need to have those columns in there.
Well, you got the rotating down there, or that's the steering committee.
Could we have it rotating with the two regional directors from the south, I guess from the South Central and the Southeastern?
Well, can I muddy things up a little bit?
Absolutely.
See, while the supervision of the offices is now pretty much more aligned with the Southern NCSS region, the technical quality assurance still lies with the technical experts outside. For example, Jeff Thomas, the senior regional in Morgantown in the Northeast, still has the quality assurance responsibilities for the Southern Blue Ridge, and then pretty much all the residual stuff in Tennessee. The Milan office, of course, coastal plain and Mississippi area, river area, is still in the Southeast. But so there is still representation in the Southern region from the Northeast
Okay.
office.
Well, you'll always have Kentucky there. You know, that will be there.
Oh, of course, Kentucky. I'm looking at Virginia, thinking about Virginia being in the Northeast. Yeah, Kentucky's still in the Southern region, and that'll always have overlap there.
Okay.
But I understand why you want to do that. But that, oh my gosh, since my first meetings in the Southern region a long time ago, we've always had that table in the bylaws.
Yeah.
As far back as I can remember.
Okay.
And it, of course, predates Soil Survey regional offices. And that time it was the liaisons were from the quality assurance staff at the National Soil Survey Center. So you had somebody there that was the representative.
Right. I guess since I've been with it, it's been somebody from the from Lincoln or from headquarters has been assigned.
Right.
So
rather than a regional director being
that's right.
Yeah, I had to think back. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess that was one of the things I was a little worried about with Kentucky. I don't want to put them alienate that from them with their concerns for any activities for the taxonomy committee or that with here, you know, want them, make sure that they have a voice in that.
Yes.
So what you're saying is just keep that, but
Well, I'm not saying keep anything. I'm just pointing out that there are still 3 major SPSD regions covering the southern region.
okay. Okay.
I mean, does that cause any undue hardship because Luis Hernandez could be doing 2 in 1 year?
They could be doing 3.
Well, okay, true. That's the North Central. Yeah. All right.
That's the only reason is that it stretches that staff quite a bit, but I don't know if there's a table like this. I didn't see one in the bylaws for the Northeast.
I don't remember ever seeing one.
Yeah, I think we're the only region that has one.
We are. None of the other regional conference bylaws, I don't recall seeing any in any others.
And the reason for that years before was that we've had, you know, back in the MO days, I think we had 5 MO offices that had responsibilities.
Well, there you go.
And to keep that rotating and so that, you know, people had that, you know, that was part of it. Also, you know, last time we split the taxonomy standards committee into 2 committees to match that. That was at the request of the National Bylaws Committee. And so we did. And so just to put another column in there for rotation. So.
Okay.
You know, either way, I was just looking at that to maybe clean it up, but maybe it's okay to leave it. Any other thoughts?
Can you leave it and have a statement in there, say like, you know, an alternate can step in if, you know, if that person is doing more than 2, is sitting on 2 steering committees, you know, just something as simple as that, just to give you guys some flexibility and just use this as a guide.
I think so.
Hey, Edgar, it seems like we had a statement, something to that effect. If I may be wrong, but it was something like I think it even said like MO leader / state soil scientist. That was the vintage of the table, but then it said or delegate. So that if
go back to the Word document.
it may have been where it was at, but I seem to remember there being something like that where, you know, if there was some sort of conflict, that person could then delegate one of their technical staff, like for the taxonomy committee, they could delegate that to the senior regional soil scientist in that office.
Right. So on the standards committee and taxonomy committee, this statement was there. The NRCS co-chair is comprised of SPSD regional director or their representative. And we had it on a rotating basis based on table 1.
Okay.
Usually on those, a lot of times you'll have the, you know, nowadays a senior regional. The old days it'd be the correlator that would have been probably on the taxonomy because they were more involved, heavily involved with that. It's ever who has a good love and understanding of taxonomy.
Right.
So if we left the table, we can just say on a rotating basis as indicated in table 1. Leave
Right.
that in.
Yep.
And in this case, it's or representative. So we're not saying that it had, you know, it could be somebody that they designate. So.
I think that's I think that's probably the important part of it is it spreads out that representation and makes sure that everybody gets a turn to have their regional interests maybe expressed a little bit more vocally at the conferences, and keeps one region from necessarily only getting their points across, but it also allows that flexibility to you know, put another staff member in there in the interest of time and scheduling.
Right. I think a lot of it too, also on the steering committee was to make sure that there was some influence from the whole southern region.
Right.
In the
Right.
conference. Yeah. So that everybody felt to be, you know, their involvement from every state. So, or short much as possible. So, okay. Any other discussion on that? Should we, if that's the case, you know, we put this up as a proposed change. I guess we either accept or not accept it and leave as is. We need to vote on, Chris, should we vote on that just to show that we looked at it anyway?
Well, I'm not sure what the specific rules need to be here. I was kind of thinking about, do we even have a critical mass, a quorum to do anything official? I mean, there's 5 folks here on this meeting, so maybe we don't need to worry so much about a quorum, but more so just sort of be on the same page that we've discussed it. It was a proposal. Maybe we'll not accept the proposal and leave as is. I guess we can record maybe a voice vote or something. I don't know that we need to be any more official than that in this committee meeting.
Right.
And I'm not part of the committee.
You know, a thought that popped into my mind literally here while we've started, you know, what the recent trend has been to shrink up to a critical minimum number of regions, but who's to say in the next 6, 8, 10 years that it doesn't go the other way, and you know, that just becomes a reason to break the southern region back out into a central and a southeast. And I think maybe leaving these columns in this table facilitates the potential for the future to, you know, go the other way with the regions and break them out a little bit more rather than combine them. I don't know what kind of potential outlook that is, but who knows?
Okay. Well, that is true, and that'll keep that history of making sure that everybody's included in, you know, has opportunities, and that rotational basis, you know that can be changed, but we have the table still stays really intact. The thing we added from last year was the standards co-chair, that column, but you know that there, the next director may change how they do the liaisons. That could change, 10 years from now. So but that's the major change, or I guess the area of potential that we had. I didn't see any other areas that we needed to make any additional changes.
Well, I guess I'll offer up this semi-official motion. I'll move to keep table 1 as is and not remove those last 3 columns in that table.
I guess we'll need a second.
Am I officially on the committee now?
Yes.
Okay, I'll
You can
second that.
Okay. Well, it's been moved and seconded to leave table 1 as is. Without,
I'll second.
very good. I guess if there's anybody that, I guess all 4, you can say aye.
Hi.
Raise your hand, 1 of the 2. And then everybody for that?
Aye.
Yep. Okay, good deal. Against, none, so we'll keep it as is, and we'll send a clean copy to the standards group at the National Soil Survey Center, and get that up into as the official bylaws then. Okay, well, we made it last to 7:55 for bylaws committee without any other comments or questions.
I am wondering,
Yep.
is there a place in the bylaws to talk about, and we can, about unexpected issues that might influence, pivoting to virtual or canceling the conference? I mean, I feel fairly confident that in the near future, you guys will have some more information on how to move forward with that from your administration. But is there anything we can put in the bylaws that states, by a certain time, like, I'm not sure. I understand you guys will have probably some more information on this, but maybe some type of statements like, I know that everything moving forward has to be virtual and in person, a hybrid, or at least have that virtual component. But is there anything you want to put in there for cancellation, or we just don't even touch that at this point?
Let's see. When Chris, you might correct me if I'm kind of wrong. When we initially had this going through, it was about March 15th or somewhere in the middle of March when we had to make the decision to go virtual. And so that was roughly 2 months ahead of time that we had to say that we're going virtual with this thing. And it was, that was a quick turnaround that had to be done, but that it has to be at least 2 months ahead of time, just to give that time frame that a decision has to be made. 1 month ahead of time or 2 weeks, whatever it was here, was just not enough time to
Oh,
do.
we could have done it. I mean, I already had the GoPro cameras and everything.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it was, and I mean, I understand that all the future ones will have to be like, that's already been mandated, right? All the future ones have to be at least virtual, if not hybrid. So I think if we could have maybe some type of, I don't know, timeline or from backtracking from the day of the conference to give guidance from what you guys have learned, from what you've done, and through this process that this steering committee's gone through. If we pivot just to virtual, I think, yeah, to do a bang up job, you have to have at least 2 months. But obviously that they're making them virtual from now on. But is there anything we can do? I mean, we couldn't get approval for you guys to even attend virtually when we pivoted. So how I just don't want the next steering committee to go through this too. Is there some type of guidance we can put in this for that? Or maybe we just say that this was something to be talked about next time. I don't know how often this committee meets, but by the next time, maybe you'll have some more guidance from administration.
Yeah, I agree, Dara, 100%. I'll play the devil's advocate here. The bylaws document is a fairly official document. The risk you run is trying to micromanage something and maybe kind of put yourself between a rock and a hard place by not formally addressing this. I guess that still provides some more flexibility for people to do what they need to do in this specific situation for a particular year and where a conference might be at, because I mean, COVID's hitting places harder than others. And so it might have been perfectly okay to host a full in-person conference in one location, whereas in another in that same year, it would not have been feasible. So by not addressing it formally in the bylaws, I guess being silent on that, doesn't that by default provide a bunch of flexibility? But the guidance should come at a minimum informally behind the scenes as new conferences and new steering committees, new chairs, new co-chairs for a conference in a year are planning their activities. So I would hope people would reach out to others. I know that's been done with us from what we did in 2020. I'm sure people will reach out to you, Dara, and your co-chair about what's going on this year. That's
Yeah.
just kind of a thought there. But I'm with you. I mean, you don't want to have to reinvent the wheel every time.
Exactly. Oh, yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, I can see that too.
We give a lot of instruction on the committees, what their responsibility.
Well, perhaps this is a question to bring up to a larger group right at the end of the few day conference here when I presume there'll be at least a brief committee report that is provided here from the bylaws committee. Maybe that question gets posed to the bigger group and, just get a little bit more input. I hate to just keep kicking it off into the future for the next group to have to deal with, but I'd also like to give as many people an opportunity to weigh in on it as possible.
In this part here on part number 3, that's, I think in here is where we could add something like that. And it may be the mode of the conference, where it says and this is referring to the steering committee plans the meeting agenda, develops charges for, standing committee, and formulates statements of conference policy, including modes of the conference. Maybe that's where, and I don't know if it's not giving you a timeline, but somewhere in here is probably where we need to have that.
Yeah, maybe we could. I like Chris's idea of talking with the bigger group,
Yeah.
and Edgar, you can point out that this is where it would be, and we could, when we put modes, we could even put in parentheses, in person, virtual, or hybrid, to be more, so people know.
And it may need to be, our bylaws, we can have that in the southern region for sure, but it may be also something that's needed on the national bylaws also.
Point, Edgar, and you can bring all this up because when you come to the full conference, they're either going to accept or reject the conference reports, but you can, I think, opening it up to discussion to the larger group
Right,
is a real good idea.
right.
I think we just do that.
Okay. We'll do that. Nora, do you have, I know you've sent out a poll on the having a wrap up type of meeting.
Yes, so I was just going to bring that up too. So the one time that looks like works for 8 out of the 10 is at that's with Christine actually present, is from 1, so that would be noon your time, which
Yep.
means you're not available, Edgar.
Oh, I'm available. I just didn't put it.
Oh, okay. You'd rather not be available.
No, I was just putting Fridays is pretty easy on me.
Okay. All right. So I think it's going to be, 1 p.m. Eastern then.
Okay.
And I'm getting ready to send that email out to everyone.
Well, Edgar, as it stands right now, I have to participate in some field work on Friday. And so I would not be able to attend that meeting. Now that is weather dependent. So we won't know that until Thursday, but plan on me not being able to attend that meeting on Friday. But if my plans change, I'll certainly let you know, and I'll be there if I can.
Okay. Will do. Any other comments?
Thanks for your leadership.
Oh, thank you. It's good to have some other points of view going through this, and sometimes we try to look at this too much in a microscope, and maybe just need to back off a little bit. Thanks, Roy, for your comments. So I don't see staying on till 9 if we don't need to.
I don't think there would be many more latecomers like me dropping in.
We appreciate you being here. Okay, so Edgar, when we stop, I'm not sure if you're going to get the recording now, if I'm going to get the recording, since I sent you the host, I gave you host responsibilities. So we'll have to check. I think
Okay.
I still will get it because I said to put it on my cloud, but
Yeah,
I bet you'll get it, Dara. You created the Zoom meeting, so that should be linked to your account.
okay, perfect, good. All
Okay,
right.
so I'll call the end of the meeting, and then we'll stop the recording.